Hey, all my Libra friends. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your March 2024 monthly horoscope. These horoscopes are based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I'm talking about Libra, I'm talking about Libra rising. And when I'm talking about a house, I'm basing it on the Libra rising. This is also applicable to Libra moon as well as Libra suns. And if you have 3 or more personal planets in the sign of Libra, this is also applicable to you. I want to mention on a sort of a side note that if you are familiar with your chart and familiar with astrology, you might want to look at your chart in Placidus, because if you are a late degree Libra rising, this will make your first house primarily Scorpio. And I think that's very significant, as the first house represents our perception, how we step out into the world, whether we view the glass half full or half empty. So I just want to make that as a side note. It was something that when I originally learned astrology in whole sign, and then I started examining my own chart, I realized that in Placidus, it made a huge difference for me, and how it reflected more of my personality that way. So also, one other side note, we are in the Pacific time zone. So when I talk about days and times, I'm here in Los Angeles area. So please adjust for your location. All right, so let's start off March with where we left off in February. So Libra, we're having a conversation between Saturn, the Sun, and Mercury, really, looking deeply into how I, as a Libra rising, Libra Sun, Libra Moon, how do I really view myself, my service to others? Pisces is your 6th house. The 6th house is a house of great creativity. It's also a house of spirituality. It's also a house that Pisces can be a little bit of escape artist. When things get dark and ugly, Pisces doesn't really like to see that. It likes to see the more beautiful, whimsical sides of life, and it can kind of swim away from any sort of darkness. So here, when we look at Pisces being your 6th house, and the 6th house by nature is Virgonian, the house that is opposite of Pisces. So here, the Virgo energy is going to be one of duty, one of process, one of mental process, and even mental stress. So what we're looking at here is Mercury thinking about my everyday activities. How am I asserting myself out into the world? The Sun, my ego expression. And Saturn is playing a dual role, not only reviewing our historic experiences, our ancestral history, which Pisces represents, but also where am I willing to build structure? And that structure is a conversation with my inner knowing, my inner voice, the thoughts that run around in my head, where I stop for a minute, slow down, and see if those thoughts actually serve the experiences I want to have versus the experiences I may be having. I think this is really powerful. And I feel as if Saturn's sojourn through Pisces, while it can be a little bit uncomfortable initially, I believe that it has a lot of reward to offer as Saturn illuminates our emotional body, and that we manifest on our emotional body, and that Saturn requires the endurance of the unknown, the endurance of the moments where faith must supersede your fear. And Saturn wants to root that into you, Libra, in your 6th house, so that it can release you or unshackle you from any mental stresses or mental obligations or feelings of guilt by putting yourself as a priority. Let's also take a quick peek over here. We see that Pluto has moved into Aquarius. Aquarius is your 5th house of creativity. And this is going to offer you an opportunity to very much renovate, to move into a 2.0 version of who and what you are and how you express yourself. Uranus is considered the higher octave of Mercury. So I bring this up because I feel like it's significant as we looked at Mercury over here, looking at how I'm, am I addressing or am I escaping? Am I stressing or am I having faith? Am I building a strong conversation with my own self, my ego assertion, and what I want to birth from me in my own self-expression. And here Pluto is going to support that in your 5th house of your unique expression, who you are as an individual and how you birth that out into the world in the form of pleasure, fun, entertainment, hobbies. The 5th house rules the performer, the clown, the child. So if you're of childbearing years and you want to have a family, Pluto could actually bring that into your experience unexpectedly, no less. Let's move to the 10th, where we're going to see the new moon in Pisces. This is going to happen at 1 a.m. Pacific time. And I think this is very significant because we see this 20th degree. And I believe that the degrees give us deeper and deeper detail into what the stars have to offer us. This is the 5th new moon in a row at the 20th degree. And at the same time, the moon cycles flipped in 2023. Normally, we have a new moon at the beginning of the month and a full moon 2 weeks later in the second half of the month. We've been experiencing a full moon in the beginning of the month and a new moon towards the end of the month. And this, I believe, is giving us a real leg up in planting those seeds, because the full moon has illuminated something that then gives us an opportunity to plant seeds with more intention, more detail, a transformational energy. Scorpio rules the deepest psychology that Scorpio can either be extremely powerful and extremely controlling in a positive way or in a way that is dominant over others. And I feel like the psychology that Scorpio represents is illuminated here in Pisces. It feels like an imprint, like a framing, like an unconscious reaction to things. And now, with a little bit of awareness in the conversations I've been having with Saturn and now Mercury that's moved into Aries, this is an opportunity to plant seeds for my individual desires, my wants, my hopes, my dreams. I think this is super, super powerful. And I think it's important because as a sign that rules partnership, both professionally and personally in marriage, I think it's important to represent the individual, the two me's that come together to create a strong we. During this new moon, we also see that the Mars is at 20 degrees as well. So this to me kind of feels like brave action, brave thought, thinking of the future and planning it to take action on that epiphany, on that intention, what I'm wanting to create. We also see that while Mars is at 20 degrees, it is making a challenging aspect to Uranus. But I think that this is pretty much because something is untested, there's no experiences backing it up that says that there's going to be success. This is really a leap of faith that's being planted during this new moon. And we see that Mercury has moved into Aries. Aries is your 7th house of partnerships, and this could very much have you thinking about how you are interacting in partnerships, if you're giving your power up within your partnerships. And again, I want to emphasize that partnerships are not just marriage partnerships. They are contractual partnerships. It could be professional partnerships. It could also be, how are you, Libra, creating harmony, peace, diplomacy, civility within your own life? We very often just, kind of slam that 7th house with the marriage house, and it has much deeper hues and layers to it. It's where the police and civil servants and people who are peacemakers reside. So here in the sign of the hero, I think this is an important opportunity for you to think about, are you being a hero in your own life? Are you in partnership with yourself and your mind and what you speak and how you feel about yourself? And that's what I think was the real strong conversation between Saturn and Mercury earlier this month. Let's move to the 12th. And we'll see Venus has entered her exaltation. Whoops. Pardon me. I think this is really powerful because as Venus enters Pisces, she is a welcome guest. She is, I mean, the music is playing, there is food and wine, and, you know, we're laughter and good friends. It's very dreamy, and it's where Venus likes to talk about her dreams. She likes to, you know, this is where she might create a vision board, you might say. We also see that she's about to have a conversation with Saturn. And I believe that Venus, when she was in Capricorn back in January, she was really starting to think about using her skills. How can I create my own resources? How can I create a flow of abundance for myself? And as she comes into this conversation conjunction with Saturn, well, oftentimes we think Saturn will repress. Here, I believe Saturn is acting more like he did when he ruled the golden age, and he's giving her an opportunity to plant, you know, roots, to build slowly and methodically, and to give her a sense of strength as she walks through some of her fears and trepidations, knowing that those fears and trepidations will ultimately be the thing that makes her feel exhilarated and excited. Saturn is in a sextile right now with Jupiter. And as Venus moves into that conjunction, she too will move into a sextile. And at the same time, Jupiter is moving into a conjunction with Uranus. Unexpected liberation through expansion of business, commerce, education, even my philosophical and ideological beliefs. I think this is super, super powerful. And that conjunction, while we're still looking at 6 degrees apart, this is a very expansive conjunction. Uranus is bringing things, you know, we might feel a little bit nervous initially. Uranus rules the nervous system. It rules large systems of like the World Wide Web. It rules innovation, liberation, the stars, the heavens, revolution, lightning ideas. It rules genius. There could be this feeling of, as Jupiter is expanding Uranus's energy, and here Venus is coming into this conversation with Saturn, it can really be this powerful, almost feel like a series of waves that come in the form of epiphanies, and very much requiring brave movement moving forward. All right, let's go now to the 19th. I'll go to the 20th, where we see the sun has moved into Aries, where it is an exaltation. So we have the ruler of the zodiac in its highest dignity as a guest. We have Venus as the female, the feminine, the receptive energy in her highest dignity as a guest in the house of Pisces. Here she's having even more intense conversation. She's focused on structure at the 10 degree, that's the Capricorn degree, and Saturn here at the 12 degree is at the Piscean degree, offering her counsel and support and information to make her stronger. We see Neptune is in a conjunction with the sun as it enters the house of self, your 7th house of partnerships. Teri Hunter, maybe I'm a little bit dreamy, but I feel like too many astrologers focus on the dark side of the planets versus the opportunities they have to offer us. So while some people may think Neptune is combust here, I see a sunset. I see a beautiful sunset where the sun is feeling dreamy and looking and glistening over the water. I feel like the conversation that Venus and Saturn is having in the sign of creativity, dance, song, poetry, filmography, photography, you know, anything that has to do with visual enhancements of some kind. Very, very powerful conversation. And as the sun continues to move through Aries, it's going to shine a light on this North Node, on Chiron, and this is an opportunity to transform the wound into the gift. This is an opportunity to recognize that that which is so important to you and individualizing yourself actually serves your partnerships so much more in a healthy way. The South Node traveling through your first house is not an easy energy because it's very much asking you to put your ego aside and step into a broader, more expansive view of how you work in partnerships, because the South Node most times will indicate giving up my power in partnership. Most astrologers will say, that you might have been played a supporting character in historically as a soul. They don't often, when the South Node is in Libra, at least I've not heard them go to the artist, but do I believe that's possible? Yes. Do I believe that individualizing yourself and allowing your creativity to come through in a way that says, right now, I might have to be first in line instead of my partnership, requiring me to be egoless to other people's opinions. And then as I step more into this hero energy of my dreams and my desires, then others will come along with me experientially and understand what they may not understand right now. All right, now let's go. We have a significant eclipse for Libra coming up. But before we do that, let's look at Mars's entry into Pisces. That's going to happen on the 22nd. I think it might be a little later in the day. Let me go to the 23rd. Now, normally we would think of Mars going into Pisces as, fire in water. Water puts out fire, right? But here, this is where I start to feel the spiritual warrior, the hero, the one who has, really started to incorporate the things as Mars moves around the zodiac and goes through the different environments. Mars gets to experience himself. And while he sometimes can be a little harsh or brash, while Mars was in Gemini back in 2022, 2023, he really started to see how he can be inspiring to others or off-putting. So as we see Mars move into a conversation with Saturn, Saturn, the mentor of Mars, Mars exalted in Saturn's house of Capricorn. So there is definitely cooperation here. There's definitely something where Mars is helping Saturn become a more I almost think of Saturn in this particular case as Mr. Miyagi from the Karate Kid, and Mars is Daniel, right? And so Mr. Miyagi's having to think of interesting ways to teach Mars and keep Mars moving while learning discipline and structure. And we have this continued conversation now that Venus has, reached her exact conjunction with Saturn. Now she's going to move on into what will appear to be her fall, and yet, or her detriment, but at the same time, she's got new skills. And while she may be a little uncomfortable putting herself first, she's going to be able to feel a sense of wisdom about that. Okay, now this is where I think we get the real spice of the month comes in. On the 25th, we are going to have a Libra. Let me get to 12 a.m. Pacific time. And we are going to see a Libra full moon lunar eclipse at 5 degrees, conjunct the supergalactic center. The supergalactic center is a point within the Shapley cluster that refers to and indicates relationships. But while normally the human thinks this is relationships outside of themselves, this is actually the relationship you have with yourself. The strength of that relationship with yourself will indicate and nurture and foster the relationships you have outside of yourself. So this is going to bring some kind of illumination, as the full moon is the brightest phase of the moon. We see the moon is in a trine to this 1 degree Pluto, illuminating something at a psychological level, offering us an opportunity to be a little bit brave in how we perceive the future. We also see the moon in a 1.5 to Uranus. So this is a challenging dynamic, because I think that what this is a holding on to my history. Taurus is also ruled by Venus, and Taurus rules our self-worth, our confidence as a result of how we were nurtured within the home, within the family. And I think that this 20 degree Uranus in a 1.5 to the moon during this cycle is sort of I don't know what it is that sits underneath me definitively, but I can feel it. And the moon will support trusting and inner knowing versus having to see something with your eyes or to remember something distinctly. Let's also look at how the moon plays, because the sun is playing. Again, we still have a loose conjunction with Neptune. So this full moon could illuminate something on a spiritual level, a wisdom where a disruption was actually a divine event that helped individualize you. I call them divine disruptions. We also see a sextile again to Pluto, offering us this continued revelation as I put light on where I believe I am not powerful, where I believe that I must acquiesce to another party. Here, I think this is going to really open something up for you. We also see that during this full moon, we still have Saturn and Venus in a looser conversation. And we see that Chiron and the North Node they've been having conversations for years now. But I feel like the combination of this with this is really bringing something to the surface of your awareness. And the closer that we get to, I want to rephrase that. I want to say the more aware Libra can be as to the relationship that she has with herself or he has with himself. How much time do you spend allowing yourself to do things that are important to you when other people's agendas get in your way? That's kind of where I'm going with this. This is why I think this is such a powerful eclipse. Eclipses are fated events. They can stretch up to a 6-month period of time. This could also very much influence something that has to do with any legal cases or civil suits, or anywhere there could potentially be a disruption in harmony. But more than anything, I'm resonating with Libra being an individual and creative and allowing the Venusian qualities to be expressed, or at least to start to express them. The fifth degree is the Leo degree, so that really hammers home for me. Okay. So while let me just go, I'm just going to go to the 29th real quick and take a peek at that. And when we get to the 29th, we see as we move into April, and this is becoming even more intense, this conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus, we're going to have a cluster of planets moving from the Pisces energy into the Aries energy and then into the Taurus energy. So there we're going to see a real push for our individuality, to want to use our skills, and in many ways to let our inner voice be the loud voice versus the outside voice. That's kind of how I perceive it. All right, my Libras, that's it for me for March 2024. It's a big month for you because this lunar eclipse is focused on you. If you have any personal planets within I would say a 3 to 5 degree orb of 5 degrees of Libra, that's powerful. And then the supergalactic center itself has a 5 to 10 degree orb. So if you have any personal planets in your natal chart that's a twofer, which means that the eclipse is not only powerful, but throughout your life, the supergalactic center is offering you continuing opportunities to build a healthy relationship with self that then builds healthy partnerships outside of the self. All right, I'll be back next month with your April 2024 monthly horoscope. Please like, please subscribe, please share. And if you'd like to book a reading with me, my information is below in the description and I am available. I'll see you soon, Libra. Have a lovely March.